Western governments, by contrast, will certainly do their best to censor this video on other less principled platforms because that's what they do. They are afraid of information they can't control.
Tucker Carlson fearlessly tackles the taboo subjects that mainstream media and governments often shy away from. With a penetrating gaze, he delves into the uncomfortable truths surrounding global governance, censorship, and the erosion of individual freedoms. As Carlson exposes the veiled agendas of Western governments and their collusion with media conglomerates, he shines a light on the suppression of vital information. From discussions about energy security to global farming protests, he unveils the orchestrated narratives that manipulate public perception.
The economy, public health, food supply, water supply. I mean, these are the energy, these are the things that matter. And they're the things that are never discussed openly, ever.
Why can't we have conversations about that? Like with the global farming protest, it's not accurately reported on. When it is, it's reported on with a particular accent and always with the insinuation that farmers have suddenly moved their attention from the raising of crops to racism now.
So it's not obvious why the leadership of a country would hate the very people they need most and hate the most beautiful and valuable thing they have, which is nature. Why do they hate those things?
It terrifies me to contemplate, Tucker, that people like Alex Jones and in our country, David Icke, who, aside from some views that are impossible to corroborate around quite occultist and, shall we call them, marginal ideas, difficult to corroborate ideas, when it comes to the subject of globalization and the increasing authoritarianization of our planet, appear to have been ahead of the curve. You can see them 20, 30 years ago saying the empowerment of NATO, the empowerment of world banks and the WHO, like this, it's extraordinary. And it seems to me that the disempowerment of ordinary people, the condemnation, the demoralization of the public to create people that just are weary and broken and, if not enslaved, then so dependent it amounts to a form of slavery, cannot be inadvertent. It seems to be a denial of something fundamental that in my language, I would call spirit, the right to be who you are. That there isn't something fundamentally ugly or wrong with you, that you are allowed to be who you are. And I see that as a universal principle that will be applied all the way from the left to the right across various ways that people claim their individual identity now. It seems to me that, yes, that if you start to attack those pivotal infrastructural roles, I was struck when speaking to some of the people that you work with, man, that you know, that's been a cop for 26 years in New Jersey, 35 years in the security services, like these people that give their lives for a country. So to tell those people that your country doesn't mean anything, or to alter the meaning of what a nation is, or alter what your contribution has been, it seems to be about a kind of disorientation. And it's difficult actually sometimes. The reason I mentioned at the beginning of this rather caroming answer figures that are broadly condemned as conspiracy theorists, but then aren't we all these days? The reason I mention them is because they talk specifically about ideas to do with spirituality, morality, and ethics. And it's hard for someone like me to consider that the goals of this global establishment are anything other than power, finance, dominion. But when you talk about this loathing of nature, whether that's human nature or botany or the great expanse, it's difficult to think that there isn't something dark.
Because there's no rational explanation for that. How could you want to despoil nature? How could you hate human nature? How could you want to hurt people? Those are not rational responses to anything. I mean, there's got to be, clearly what we're watching are the fruits of spiritual war. If you can think of a better explanation, let me know.
Certainly the solution seems to me to be spiritual, and even when they're talking about ecology and evoking words like Gaia, like the spirit of the planet, it seems oddly utilitarian. The earth is a resource, even when claiming to care about the types of energy industry that might be most beneficial and those which might not be as beneficial. I don't see reverence. I don't see an acknowledgement of the sacredness of the earth, that the earth is not a resource. It's not, obviously the left and right are classically almost at this point divided around the subject of climate change. And what I feel is who among us ought not love our planet and behave respectfully and reverentially and lovingly to our planet? And how is that going to happen if no one has a relationship with it? I think like 90% in my country, 90% of the land is inaccessible to most people. 90% of the land is privately owned. Like land that used to be commonly held is now all privately owned. There has been been successive law after successive law that has moved power and control and the land and nature herself into the hands of an elite. And it's this, I suppose, even where it would have been risible.
So you're getting back to feudalism.
Yeah,
what you're saying.
Let's get back to good old feudalism. What was wrong with feudalism? Why are we making such a fuss about it? It's like the idea that you and I are people that operate on different sides of a political spectrum becomes exposed as ridiculous when the anti-authoritarian aspect of what we both clearly believe in has to become the clear and pivotal point around which all political views have to now start to coalesce. You are either going to oppose what's happening when it comes to globalization and centralized authoritarianism, or you are going to be crushed by it individually and collectively.
The post-World War II economic order, the system that guaranteed prosperity in the West for more than 80 years, is coming apart very fast, and along with it, the dominance of the US dollar. These are not small changes, they are history-altering developments. They will define the lives of our grandchildren. Most of the world understands this perfectly well, they can see it. Ask anyone in Asia or the Middle East what the future looks like. And yet the populations of the English-speaking countries seem mostly unaware. They think that as nothing has really changed. And they think that because no one has told them the truth. Their media outlets are corrupt. They lie to their readers and viewers. And they do that mostly by omission. Freedom of speech is our birthright. We were born with the right to say what we believe. That right cannot be taken away no matter who is in the White House. But they're trying anyway.
So many things seem so completely screwed up right now that it can be overwhelming. And over time, it's also misleading. If you pay too much attention to what's happening, you can easily conclude that America is a rotten country. But that's wrong. It's not. America is still the best there is. Two things about America make it great: the country and its people. This is a truly beautiful place. That's the first thing. If you're absorbed in your phone all day, it's easy to forget that, but look around. It's stunning. Switzerland has the Alps, Zimbabwe has Victoria Falls, but multiply that by an entire continent and you've got what we have, America. From the islands of Puget Sound to the islands in Casco Bay, to the Rockies and the Badlands and the Upper Peninsula and the Appalachian Mountains in between. Spend a day hiking through the Shoshone National Forest in Wyoming. You might not see another person. How can a place so gorgeous be so empty? We've got a lot of those here. Wake up in Big Sur, California some morning. The smell of redwoods and salt air will change you. You'll feel things you inherited from your ancestors, coming from places the modern world cannot touch. We are blessed to live in a place like this, more blessed than we acknowledge. No matter what happens next, no matter who becomes the president, now or in the future, nothing can diminish the dignity of an eastern white pine towering above the spruce in a New England forest. All of it is ours to enjoy, thank God.
But it's not just the physical beauty of America that captivates Carlson. He also celebrates the inherent goodness and generosity of its citizens, highlighting their compassion towards one another and their unwavering commitment to community.
And we've got a lot of people to enjoy it with, an awful lot. Americans are still the best people, misguided as we sometimes are. This isn't an especially religious country anymore, but surveys on church-going do not tell the whole story. Even now, most Americans know they're not really in charge of the universe. They know there's something bigger out there, bigger than all of us combined. And when you understand that, when you know in your bones how small you are and how short the ride is likely to be, you tend to treat people better. Americans do. Don't let cable news fool you. Don't let us fool you. This is a profoundly nice country, the nicest in the world. Americans are kind to children, to pets, to strangers. We give more money to charity than any other place. We tip our waiters more. There's no country on earth you'd rather be lost in. Someone will help you. In America, we don't eat dogs, we rescue them. They sleep on the bed. We give them funny names. We cry when they die. It's a sweet country. In some ways, it's getting better. The music's definitely improving. So is the food. Believe it or not, we still make things here, and a lot of them are pretty good. That probably won't change. Americans love innovation, but they're distrustful of anyone's radical plans for the future. Most people here don't want an abrupt reshuffling of everything. They prefer incremental improvement. That's why we've had only one revolution. It's why we fought off the metric system all these years, and thank heaven we have. It's why we still have Christmas, and always will. Christmas in America is great, even if you don't really understand what it's about, and many people don't. It's still the happiest time of the year, and therefore it's the most American. America is a happy country, despite everything.
Our happiness is fundamental. It's in our founding documents. It's in our people. Nothing happening tonight can take that away.